Hey everyone, today I wanted to go over how to craft 60% fizz conversion mine chain gloves. So first of all, why would you want these gloves? These gloves can be used by exsanguinate minor characters because getting chain for exsanguinate is extremely good for clearing the entire screen, and the current meta for exsanguinate miners is to have 100% of physical damage converted to cold, so being able to get 60% conversion from just the gloves allows for some options to get the other 40% from a mastery node or a hatred watcher's eye as examples. So there are two ways I know how to go about crafting this. There might be some other ways or other nuances that I'm not aware of. So I'm just explaining how I went about crafting it and the stuff that I know to craft these. So there's two different options here that I really know about. One is to try and fracture the skills used by your traps and mines chain 2 additional times. So fracture that mod, and then you can do some of the other steps that I explain in this video, or you can do some of your own steps because you've got that mod saved on there. It's fractured, so you can kind of mess around with the item however you want without messing it up too much. So you can try to fracture it. That's one option. The other option is you can use the suffixes cannot be changed benchcraft. Which method is cheaper will depend on the current prices for fracturing orbs and the glove base. When I made my first pair, I used the benchcraft option, and it is easier to mess up, so that's the method I'll be explaining in this video. So I'm gonna pull over my written step-by-step notes, and I'll just read off what we're gonna do, and then I'll do it for you live here, or, well, I guess not live, but, you know, I'll do it for you in the recording here. So, step 1. Buy a glove base with skills used by your traps and mines chain 2 additional times, and make sure that glove has an open or bench crafted prefix. Also make sure there is not a veiled suffix already on the gloves. This would most likely be someone trying to sell a pseudo bricked base that would need the veiled mod annulled first. And if you want to make things easier later, look for a pair that already has 3 suffixes on it, the chain mod and 2 other non-veiled mods. So, step 1, we need to buy these gloves. The skills used by your traps and mines chain 2 additional times. That modifier is an infamous mod from Mercenaries League, so I think it is currently drop only, which means that you can't craft it onto an item. It has to drop with that mod on it, which is why you need to buy a pair of gloves that already has the mod. So let's go ahead and do that. So I am going to search mine chain. Okay. And we don't want it corrupted because we are crafting. As well as we'll make another stat group count. It needs to have one of the following: empty prefix modifier. It needs to have at least one empty prefix, or crafted prefix modifier of 1. So this top one kind of looks like one that somebody tried to use or partially set up. So I'm gonna buy these. These should work. It has 3 suffixes on it already, so that'll make things easier later. And it has an open prefix. Okay, step 2, benchcraft suffixes cannot be changed. Step 3, veiled chaos orb. The chain mod is protected by suffixes cannot be changed. Whoops, I typed at the bottom of the sheet instead of trying to open my inventory. All right, so suffixes cannot be changed, and then you use Veiled Chaos Orb. Now, this particular pair of gloves already has 3 suffixes, so we can only unveil a prefix, and there's only 1 prefix on it right now, so we can block. Step 4 here, there's some different options for depending on how many modifiers are on the gloves already. If there are 3 suffixes and 1 prefix, benchcraft fizz converted to fire or lightning. For crafting purposes, it doesn't matter which you select, just don't select cold, select fizz converted to fire or lightning. So having this benchcrafted on here prevents us from finding that mod, making it more likely that we find the fizz to cold conversion mod. So step 5, unveil, and we'll see what we get. 35% of physical damage converted to cold damage. Yeah, take that. All right, now, since there's a lot of different variables here, I'll go over the others before we go forward. So on step 4, when we were trying to block other modifiers, if there are 2 suffixes, benchcraft anything to fill up the 3rd suffix. If there is 1 suffix, benchcraft increased global crit chance, and this is a hybrid modifier, increased elemental damage if you've dealt a crit strike recently. This is an unveil mod, so you're blocking this unveil outcome from showing up, which has the highest weighting, if there is a possibility that you can get a suffix. Now, I think before you unveil, it may tell you if the unveil is a prefix or a suffix. So that might, you might not even need to think about it. You might know beforehand if it's even possible to get the fizz converted to cold because it is a prefix. So if it says that your veiled modifier is a suffix, then you gotta try to get rid of that somehow. All right. So if fizz converted to cold is an option, you take that. If it's not an option, we go to step 5b. So step 5b, fizz converted to cold is not an option. Do not select randomly. You can pseudo brick the gloves if you unveil a suffix. If you're not presented with fizz to cold conversion, then unveil a prefix mod if possible. Again, I'm not sure if this is determined, if it's possible for it to present you with both prefix and suffix modifiers, so this might not even be a possibility to begin with. But if you unveil a prefix that is not fizz to cold conversion, go back to step 2. If you unveil a suffix, then go to step 5c. And then step 5c, you now have an unveiled suffix mod and the mind chain mod on your gloves. This means that if you craft suffixes cannot be changed back onto it again, you cannot use a Veiled Chaos Orb on the gloves because it cannot overwrite the veiled mod that's already on there, and it can only have 1 unveiled mod on there from the Veiled Chaos Orb. You can try to save the gloves by annulling off the unveiled suffix mod. If you remove the unveiled suffix mod, go back to step 2. If you remove the mind chain mod, go back to step 1. Alright, on to step 6, which is where we are with these gloves. So you have 2 options for getting 25% fizz to cold conversion implicit. The prices of the Ichors and the Orb of Conflict will determine which option is cheaper, but I imagine most cases the Orb of Conflict option will be cheaper on average because it can take a lot of Ichors to find the fizz to cold conversion. So your 2 options, you can roll with Exceptional Eldritch Ichor, which can get the 25% fizz to cold conversion roll straight out, or you can roll with Grand Eldritch Ichors to get 20% fizz to cold conversion. You should then also roll a decent Searing Exarch implicit. It's your preference here. Unnerve is what most people go for, but mind throwing speed or increased damage per frenzy charge are also possible rolls. Then use an Orb of Conflict for a 50% chance to upgrade Fizz to Cold conversion to 25%. If you miss the 50-50, now you have a better Searing Exarch implicit, and you can roll with Grand Eldritch Icors again, or you can try to hit 2 Orb of Conflicts in a row to get the Cold conversion to 25%. And the base we bought, it looks like someone was already rolling with these, so they already got the 20% of physical damage converted to cold damage for us, which is using the Grand Icors. So we would want to Orb of Conflict this up, but I'm gonna go for a different, better Searing Exarch implicit first, I think, in case we miss. And for the Searing Exarch implicit, you can use whichever one you want. So I'm just going to use what I have currently. Okay, increased damage per frenzy charge is... actually, I think I'm not going to keep that because I'm going to try to sell these. I feel like most people don't want that implicit, so I'm going to try to get mind throwing speed or unnerve. All right, we got Unnerve. So now, at least if we miss the Orb of Conflict, it'll upgrade something that's actually decent. But we are hoping to see that 20% Fizz converted to Cold go to 25%. We didn't get it. So from here, at the latter end here, if you miss the 50-50, you have a better Searing Exarch implicit, which is true. Or we can try to Orb of Conflict twice. I think I'm going to re-roll the implicit again and keep the better Searing Exarch roll. All right, found the conversion roll again, so we try to Orb of Conflict again. All right, we missed again. All right, we found Cold again. Third Orb of Conflict here. All right, surely the third time we upgrade the correct one. All right, I guess we're rolling some more. Now, since we're already at the exquisite Searing Exarch modifier, which I believe that's the cap there, it might be better to use the higher Icor here. Yeah, I don't know if I'd have the currency at the time to use the exceptional Icors and find this before I run out of money, so I think I'm gonna use the greater ones again, or the grand ones. All right, and Orb of Conflict again. There we go. Now we finally got 25%. So We got 25%. We already hit 35 on the prefix modifier. So the last step, if you hadn't, it's possible for the prefix to roll between 30 and 35% fizz to cold conversion. So if you didn't already have 35% and you want to use these for yourself, you would probably divine orb them up to 35% as your last step. And also, you can remove the crafted mod and craft on whatever you want, and choose to exalt slam if you want. That's up to you. So if I were to remove the bench crafted mod, I'd probably use a Foulborn Exalt and just hope for the best, but I'm just going to keep the bench crafted mod. And yeah, that is how I go about crafting these gloves. That's all the steps. I'll have the steps written in the description, as well as some search links to be able to find the glove bases. There's a few different ways to search it up, so I'll probably include some different options in the description there for you to take a look at. So hopefully some of you found this helpful. If you know any other methods to crafting these gloves and you want to share, feel free to share with us. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you all have a good rest of your day or night, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.